Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again. This is my Batman Arkham Origins New Game Plus video walkthrough. We're in the GCPD building. We've just got the Disruptor, I think it's called, and we're about to go back and hack the door that was previously unable to be hacked. But before we do that, this is a Batman game, so there's going to be legions of thugs in our way before we get there. So get ready for a fight. And at this point we've got quite a lot of gadgets. I didn't notice that I had the Sonic Boomerang, or Batarang, sorry, not Boomerang, which is one of my favourite items in the game, but I just didn't realise I had it because on my first playthrough I didn't. So it must have been one of the upgrades I purchased and not realised. But here is the fight. I started off right there by doing the Batclaw into a clothesline, and I get very lucky because I was able to cancel out of it immediately into a counter as that guy tried to beat me up. And you'll notice as I take a big right hook to the face that there's this crazy looking like Mexican wrestler dude in a orange body warmer. He, I believe, is one of Bane's goons or something along those lines because he's wearing the Venom pack and the Bane look. He is kind of a heavy, kind of just a nuisance, and he can grab you from behind, which is super annoying because you've got to tap A and then everybody else can beat you up while you're trying to get out of it. But he takes a couple of hits because the execution move that I did on him earlier, you'll notice it broke his Venom pack, and I believe now we'll be able to finish him off if we want to, but it's a little bit more complicated than that, seeing as how there's a ton of dudes that we have to fight. But be resourceful and use your skills and your tools at your disposal. Just bear in mind, if you go for the ground execution, you want to have some distance or you're going to get punched because it's very difficult to get the timing right so that you can counter when you come out of it. And watch out for the guy with the knife. Knife guys and bottle guys, which is also a knife, it's just a prison knife. So, you know, a bit of prison slang there for a shiv. But there's quite a lot of guys in this fight, as you'll notice. A couple more drop down there. The explosive barrel on the ground, if you freely throw a Batarang, you can hit it and do some damage to people, knock some people down. I'm trying to think if you'll ever see me doing any other takedown than standard takedowns and bat stun. The ability to knock out people you've stunned on the ground is probably only useful if you've got the ability to stack, is it 2 special abilities, because you can knock them down with the bat stun or knock them down with combos and then just finish a few of them off, which is going to be useful, but you're not going to see me using it too much because I'm a very basic fighter. You know, I try to use some of the gadgets, but for the most I just like the old pugilist approach, the Marquis of Queensberry rules. But now that you've done that, you can then Batclaw out of here and then continue to retrace our steps to the door we couldn't hack. I was watching a video the other day of creationists, which, you know, if you've got a spare hour and you want to go laugh at some people, they're a fantastic bunch to do it at the expense of. Whereas in the past I would normally have said that a creationist was just a euphemism for a crazy person or a stupid person. I can't really say that anymore because I watched I think he was a biologist, a biology lecturer and a few other things called Kent Hovind or Hovin. I saw him debating against a scientist, and I forget the name of the scientist, but he's a good guy to watch. He's definitely a fun guy to watch debate. And he was essentially saying his beliefs and criticising evolution, which, if you don't know what creationism is, there's a whole different versions of creationism. I'm just going to be generalising the one version that was in display here. Creationism is the belief that we didn't evolve. We were intelligently designed by a designer, a god, or an id, as they refer to it, to intelligent design. So somebody made us the way we are, made everything, made the world. They did so with the literal translation of the book of Genesis, which is it's 6 days it took to build everything, and then he took a break and all that good stuff. They also believe that the Earth is only 6,000 years old, and all the evidence that says against it, this guy was pretty much refuting in really interesting ways, because he wasn't doing it so much from a scientific perspective. Some of his evidence was decent, but he misconstrued a lot of it for like novelty value to appeal to people that weren't necessarily, you know, scientifically literate, which is what you want to do if you want to win over an audience or an amphitheatre filled with Christians, but people who are a little bit more critical thinking don't generally get won over that much by the way people say things. And what I mean by this is, if you've ever seen Tom Cruise make a speech for Scientology, he's a fantastic example that any linguist will tell you to analyse, because it's amazing what he does. He says absolutely nothing. Doesn't say a single thing of any value. It's all just bullshit. You know, he could literally be reading the description for Kellogg's cornflakes. It doesn't matter. What does matter is the way he says it and the way he incites the crowd behind every word he says. And he makes it sound like he's doing them a favour, or like he's doing them a service, when in fact, he's doing them nothing. He's not even helping them. All he's doing is putting forward the things that have been written down for him in a really compelling, convincing, and charismatic way. And there's many studies that have been done on this, where you can literally say anything, but if said in the correct way, you can rally people behind you, because, you know, he raises his voice, he gets passionate, he gets into it, and he gets those, you know, those cascades of applaud, those just eruption, those symphonies of hands, as people are like, yeah, this is making so much sense, when in essence all he's saying is, you know, trees are green. And he's a fantastic example of it, where he says nothing, and this guy does a lot of that, but he backs it up with really, really poor facts. And some of them are good, but some of them are so horrible. And I just find it really, really baffling. And I've not had the pleasure of speaking to any of these people, because creationism is something in this country that is probably up there with Scientology. You just don't see it. You know, it's a predominantly Catholic country. There will be other religions there. I know there's obviously a big Muslim community and stuff like that. There will be Judeo-Christian values, but creationism just not really on the forefront of everything. And I don't know if that's because, you know, we actually use our brains and think, as opposed to a large population of the people in America who believe in dinosaurs in the Garden of Eden, or the literal translation that the Bible is the Word of God, when it was written by Jesus' disciples almost 400 years after he lived, who never in fact met Jesus, the so-called intermediary of the Word of God. But never mind about that fact. I don't know. What I do know is the lecture that I watched was just baffling, and the guy who was the scientist there, who was putting the case for evolution, was coming up against a tough crowd, because they were a religious crowd, and he was talking about vestigial constructs, which are essentially parts of animals that have been cast off because they no longer need them. You know, like whales have legs and snakes have legs that have essentially got really small and probably atrophied to an extent where they're just unusable now, because they've evolved to such an extent where they don't need them. And evolution is a theory, but it's the best theory that science can provide. And creationism is essentially anti-evolution, because evolution pretty much disproves every single part of their belief system. And the thing with it is the thing that this guy kept going back to was this notion of the taxpayers are paying for this religion of evolution. Evolution's a religion, apparently, to be taught in schools, when it should be, you know, privately funded and taught elsewhere and kept out of the curriculum, sorry. Which I just think is amazing, when creationism offers no science at all. Not a single shred of science. There are no textbooks. There are no lectures. There are no, you know, high up people in that faith that are also writing about that faith from a scientific level. They're not. All there is are these evangelists, these fucking people that go around and proselytize. That's all it literally is. And the reason is because there is no science to it. Whenever it comes to being refuted by anybody, the answer is always the same. God did it. Which is not an answer. It's the opposite of an answer. It's just a deus ex machina, and that doesn't answer anything. And they're saying that they don't want it taught in schools, and yet they're also saying that creationism should be taught in schools, which just, that seems kind of strange to me, kind of hypocritical and weird. But That is not me attacking anybody's faith or religion, guys. That's just me saying that I think creationism is fundamentally stupid, and we would probably advance as a species if all the people that believed in that bullshit died out.